Well, we are heading to a new fiscal age, and this is because we have learned certain things during the last decade. We learned that austerity was a failure. We learned that 10 years ago, when the use of austerity on certain countries such as Spain, such as Portugal or Greece, entailed a lost decade, an entire lost decade in terms of GDP growth and in terms of unemployment. And by contrary, what we have seen during the pandemic is the use of expansionary fiscal policies have been very useful in order to move forward, in order to help the private sector to get out of the crisis more rapidly. And instead of taking us a whole decade to achieve the GDP and employment levels that we have before the crisis, it only took us a year and a half to achieve those levels. So we have to take that into account. We have to learn that during the crisis times, expansionary fiscal policy might be very useful, but also not just in crisis times, but in times where we have tremendous challenges such as the one that we have now. The Draghi report is telling us that we have to increase our investments and that we have to push forward our public investments in order to deal with those challenges. So we better take that into account now. Well, the experience of the change in economic policy in Spain, I think it might be very useful as an example for other countries. What we have seen in Spain is that we have driven an economic policy based on two pillars. First, an expansionary fiscal policy during the last 5 years, but also a pro-labor expansionary policy based on 60% increase in minimum wages, but also a labor market reform that has increased the power of negotiation of unions within the labor market. And what we have seen is that a rapid increase in GDP, an increase driven basically by private consumption and by public consumption, that is created the situation that we see today. Spain outperforms GDP growth of the rest of the European Union. We have created 2 million of employments despite the 60% increase in the minimum wage, and that means that we have room of maneuver, we have fiscal space, and we have space for increase in wages to create new conditions for a better performance of the economy. That might be a good example for the other European neighborhoods.